Alright, here we are on part 3 of our Norinco Hunter build. I've ran into technical issues with the build, just with different things because the receiver's kind of weird and I want to put handguard and stuff on it. Anyways, I decided to add a standard rear sight base to the rifle because the stock sights are really just fucking awful and they really aren't contributing to the accuracy potential of the rifle. So I got a standard rear sight base. I decided to open it up a little. The method I used is I used a honer. It's used to polish out the inside of bores. So it's only supposed to be able to, or it's only supposed to be used to remove like 1 to 2 thousandths of an inch, if or less. I had to remove 7. So the method I should have used was a boring bar, but we didn't have any. So I'm gonna have to order some and redo this. It worked, but it took way too much time, and the hole it produced was actually crooked. Then the next issue I ran into was the goddamn gas block, which is apparently pressed on with Thor's hammer, and then they beat the pins in, and I don't even know what went on with it, but actually it actually got to the point where I was like, I don't have the skill to do this, so I brought it to my gunsmith, and he's like, all right, hey, he drilled the pin out for me, but he's like, I can't get the gas block off either. And I was like, well, if this motherfucker can't get it off, how am I supposed to get it off? So I decided, I built a little tool. That's, this thing. It has the circle parts for the barrel. It sits around the collar of the gas block, which presses onto the barrel. And then the squarish hole is for clearance for the actual gas chamber. You want that clearance, otherwise you'll bend your gas block or it won't press off right. And the gap between the material between the round hole and the square hole needs to be very small, because most gas blocks taper down to that collar, so that's something to keep in mind. The next issue I had to run into was, okay, how do I protect the crown from damage as I'm removing it? So with another tool, which is this one. It's essentially an aluminum circle, or aluminum circle. Has a hole drilled through it. It's counterbore, and then it's tapped for 10mm. And then I took a 10mm screw, screwed it in there, turned the end down to 300 thou, which is 308 essentially, and put that end in the barrel. And then the threads are all contained in the aluminum, and the head has enough area to where it displaces the force that's going to be put onto the crown into the aluminum, so it doesn't damage your barrel. Worked out awesomely. The next thing I did was I set it all up in a vise, and I fucking got it off. I was so happy. Very minimal galling, which I was also happy about. There's methods to prevent galling when you're pressing things off, but that's not for me to talk about. There's other videos out there. Just a time constraint thing. Alright, so then I had to go into the issue of pressing the gas block on. And here's something cool, but also kind of terrible. The barrel getting closer to the receiver is not circular, and it's also varying greatly in diameter. It's incredibly rough turn. As you can see, the stripes on the barrel are from the high spots, and it varies as much as 5 thou in diameter, which is a lot. Well, actually, it's like 5 to 10 thousandths, and it kind of tapers too, which is weird. So needless to say, I use a little percussion therapy to get the rear sight base on there. And the aluminum stock piece I use that as like a brace for the rear of the receiver. As I hammered on the aluminum piece to get the rear sight base to move up closer to the receiver, because you use that piece to set the spacing of your gas tube and your dust cover. So you gotta test fit everything as you're pressing it on. The pipe is sitting in the vise, and then I'm hammering on the aluminum piece in the rear of the rifle. And this was with a rubber hammer. It was like a 3-pound rubber hammer. So obviously don't use a fucking metal hammer. Just a few final things now. Completely finished. Refinishing this Bulgarian dust cover. I'm using stitch strip to remove the paint. Also sandblasted it to remove the majority of the paint. You can use acetone or whatever you feel like. I also took the serial number off it so I could match the cover to the rifle. It came out really well. Just go slow. Be careful. Blowing up the dust cover itself and the proper rear sight base. That's the one I opened up. This is a cycle gas tube. I had to cut the heat shield off it so the rail itself would sit around the rifle properly. And now you can see the finished rifle. Same stock adapter, a stock adapter. I don't recommend it because it interferes with mounting side rails on the rifle. And I'm really happy with the way the rifle turned out. I'm incredibly happy. I just have to get the rear sight base pinned now and sight her in.